Let's bring in Adrian Wojnarowski, editor of The Vertical there on Yahoo. Sorry about that, Adrian. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for having me.
What were your expectations going into last night's game?
Well, I thought Golden State would hold serve at home. I did. And Oklahoma's on a remarkable run right now. You've seen them get better and better, and the belief in, I think the supporting cast has grown among Westbrook and Durant, and those two have played. Although Westbrook started off poorly last night, he obviously finished strong. But this is a team with belief now. And to go through, listen, if they get to the finals and have gone through San Antonio and Golden State, you'd have to look at this as one of the great playoff runs in history, given the regular seasons that the Spurs and Warriors obviously had.
The travel with Westbrook, I know that we focused on the last 2 minutes, the NBA giving us the transparency, but I also think it's sort of like an NBA confessional, that they just go into the confessional, confess their sins, and then come out, and then they're fine. They move on to the next game. Do you like the fact that they're telling us that they're missing calls at crucial moments?
I do, because, and I think it's going to grow. I think there's a push within the league in a lot of quarters to make more information public, and that's going to be, it is an interesting tug of war that's going on within the league right now among owners, GMs, coaches, the league office. One thing about Adam Silver, and I've spoken to him about this in the past, that he wants to keep opening things up and more transparency. The one thing that, if you've noticed in the last couple of years, and it's a credit to Adam Silver, and think back to the beginning of the Oklahoma City San Antonio series, Game 2, on the they had 13 things wrong in the last couple minutes or whatever the number was. People are, I think, Adam Silver doesn't like people are saying, he knows it's true that his refs are making mistakes, but he understands why people are saying, hey, these refs didn't do a good job. The league's saying we didn't do a good job. But what people aren't saying anymore is, hey, there's a conspiracy. You want this team to win and not this team. And I think, if we're being honest, since David Stern left and Adam Silver's taken over, you hear a lot less of that in the league right now.
I had a couple other things here. We were talking about the draft lottery coming up tonight, and I do have a plan that I think maybe helps us with this, with tanking. What if once you're eliminated from the postseason, every win you have after that helps you, increases your odds of getting a better player? Therefore, the last 20 games of the season, you're actually able to see a decent product or the best that your team can put on the floor without really mailing it in to get more ping pong balls.
It's not a bad idea, Dan. The one thing that there's so much discussion about how to fix this system, and I think Adam Silver regrets. He pushed, I think last year, I guess it was last year, 2 years ago, last year, when they talked about lottery reform, he went for too much and couldn't end up getting enough support. I think he would, if he could have it, if he could have it back, he would have done some kind of a scaled-back version of the plan that they tried to do, because they don't want to encourage tanking. And part of the reason the league was so concerned about the Sixers situation was, it's one thing to have one team completely non-competitive, not trying, literally management putting a team on the floor that it hopes loses games. What if other teams start to do it? What if you had 2 or 3 or 4 teams in a league following that model? You can't have it. And so I think the league wants to try to do anything they can to discourage teams from doing this. And I think you're going to continue to see more proposals along those lines.
He's Adrian Wojnarowski, editor of The Vertical on Yahoo, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Set the scene for tonight's lottery with the odds. What's at stake for all involved?
Well, I think what everyone will be watching here is the Lakers. Can the Lakers keep their pick? Philadelphia would have rights to it if the Lakers fall out of the top 3. So, listen, it's a lot more interesting of a draft if the Lakers are high up, if the Lakers have their pick. But you're seeing a few teams that will have potentially multiple picks: Boston, Denver, Philadelphia potentially. And I think for the most part, the teams with like 3 picks, there's I think 3 teams with 3 picks. Those guys want to trade. They don't want to use all those picks. They want to package those picks ultimately for, maybe a veteran player or a borderline all-star guy. Nobody wants – this isn't a draft where guys are looking to have, especially those teams, they want to start getting some veterans in the win.
Well, that leads me to the Lakers. If they get their lottery pick, are they more likely to keep that?
I think the Lakers will do what almost anybody will do up high. No one is sold on, listen, Ingram and Simmons, Brandon Ingram at Duke and Ben Simmons of LSU are the clear-cut top 2 players in the draft. Teams, I think, are going to dissect those 2 further to see who's number 1. That's already going on. But I think that there's not a franchise changer necessarily in this draft. And so teams will be open to seeing what they can get by trading out, moving, trying to get maybe a young star in the league, see what's available. But I think anybody up high this year is going to look at trading out of there. That doesn't mean they will, but they'll look and see what, because there may be a team that really, really believes in Simmons or Ingram, and they're willing to give up a lot for him.
If Simmons was in last year's draft, where would he have gone, in your opinion?
It's a good question. He I'm trying to remember. Well, let's see.
Towns, Okafor, Porzingis, Russell.
I mean, if we're looking back based on now, I think you're taking Towns ahead. Like, there's no question you take Towns ahead of him. There's no question you take Porzingis ahead of him. Okafor, maybe Okafor, Russell. There's an argument there. But if we're redrafting and we do it based on what we know now, which is the easy way to do it, Towns still goes number 1. Porzingis goes number 2. You could make a case Simmons goes 3 there.
Before I let you go, the Knicks coaching situation, Phil Jackson on vacation, but also in limbo with what's going on. Where are they headed? Is Kurt Rambis the de facto choice here?
Well, I actually think, based on what I've been told here in the last few days, that these other candidates, especially David Blatt, Frank Vogel, a little bit Jeff Hornacek, they're real candidates in this, and the chances are less than they were maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, that Kurt Rambis was just going to be inserted in there. They're really looking hard at other candidates. Potentially, maybe Rambis would stay on somebody's staff, or Rambis would go to the front office, potentially. But Rambis could still get the job, but I know the Knicks are seriously engaged with these other candidates, and there's a chance that one of them ends up the Knicks coach.
Adrian, thanks for joining us as always. We enjoyed reading the Vertical on Yahoo. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, Adrian Wojnarowski.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.